chaotic scene at a clothing store in Soho today, where frantic shoppers huddling in the corner of a store on Broadway in the middle of the afternoon believed an active shooter was at large.
So shoplifters inside one of these stores started a fight with security guards and scared everyone by telling them they were armed. But as scary as this situation was, new data reveals that around 25% of people entering a business like this have stolen before, with many admitting to shoplifting within the last year, which means New York City's retail theft problems are about to get a whole lot worse.
Security video shows the robbers barge into the one-off design clothing store in Queens.
I just didn't want to move. I didn't want to make no sudden moves and make no mistakes, you know what I mean?
The videos caught by store security cameras are alarming. Smash and grabs occurring across the country.
On a sunny, crowded Saturday in Soho, first responders rushed to Broadway just after 3 in the afternoon as customers inside the fashion retail store thought the worst.
That's definitely where everybody's head went.
More than 1 in 5 Americans admit to shoplifting, and a sizable portion of them say they've done it within the last year.
I mean, rarely did I take anything over $5 or $10, cassette tapes, a magazine, but the frequency increased over the 10-year period.
Shoplifting is a deeper issue. When I was deep into that game, it was more to feed addiction and that lifestyle.
So it's scary to be in a public setting, and we're not walking around with weapons, so you feel helpless.
So New York is now mandating panic buttons to protect people from not-so-peaceful shoplifters. But this totally misses the real problem, because critics say our shoplifting surge is the byproduct of people taking what doesn't belong to them in a consequences-free environment. And speaking of consequences, no arrests have been made in that botched robbery at Zara, which means the thieves who went after security guards and frightened everyone are still out there walking the streets of this city, like most of our shoplifters who don't go to jail when they steal under $1,000 worth of items. And this revolving door justice system has been an absolute disaster for our state, which now boasts $4.4 billion in economic losses every single year from theft. But now the problem of shoplifting is about to get even worse, because 25% of Americans who've stolen in the past admitted to doing it again within the past 12 months. And that includes people in parts of the country that actually punish theft, which is bad news for New York, because the fact that our criminals always get released has businesses citywide on edge, because when the door to their store opens, they have no idea if the person walking in has plans to pay for things or to take them by force. Which brings us to the real reason why theft in this city is now so out of hand. Shoplifting's been a growing problem over the last 2 to 3 years, but instead of stopping it, our leaders have allowed it to grow. Which is too bad, because after decriminalizing theft in 2020, crime rose almost immediately here in the city. Yet the criminal sympathizer crowd told us our decriminalization laws needed time to start working. But if you ask the security guards at any of the stores around here, they'll tell you the laws are working all right, if their goal is to make shopping more dangerous. So this right here behind me, this is the Zara where this botched robbery took place. And what's shocking about that is we're in Soho right now. This is one of the most popular shopping areas in the entire city, and there are always people down here. In a few hours, this area is going to be so packed, it's going to be virtually impossible to walk down the sidewalks because of all the people. Because people travel from all over the city to come down here and spend money at flagship retail stores. But as you're about to see, that might no longer be a safe idea.
Lauren and her friend Nicole huddled with other customers in the back of Zara in Soho. Their day of shopping turned into a day of panic.
She locked eyes with someone who said that he had a gun, so the next thing we know, we're getting trampled and pushed into the back corner.
So picture this, you're walking down the street, you're heading into all of the stores around here. Maybe you go into a store and it's the 5th or 6th store you've entered that day. And when you're inside, out of nowhere, you hear people start yelling and screaming, saying that there are armed bandits inside the very store you've just entered. And the entire place, which is bustling with people, quickly becomes a scene of chaos. Which is exactly what happened inside this store store, nobody was arrested, and the robbers actually sped off in a Mercedes. And what's even more frightening is this didn't happen during the wee hours of the morning or the late hours of the evening. This took place at 3 p.m. in the afternoon when the sun was out and when there were thousands of eyewitnesses all over the place. But none of that mattered to the criminals who entered this place for some reason.
On a sunny, crowded Saturday in Soho, first responders rushed to Broadway just after 3 in the afternoon as customers inside the fashion retail store thought the worst.
That's definitely where everybody's head went.
Thankfully, police say there was no active shooter, but customers would later find out a store security.
So thankfully, when the police arrived on the scene and entered the store, they were able to confirm that there was no active shooter. But that doesn't make this situation any less terrifying, especially when the criminals were the ones telling everyone in the store that they were armed. Instead, the chaos was caused when the crooks came back to the store and attacked a security guard who earlier in the day had stopped them and accused them of shoplifting. The security guard ended up needing medical attention, which is absolutely terrible. And it's terrible because not only was someone injured, the person who was injured was doing their job, which was supposed to make the store a better place and keep it safe for people so that stuff like this wouldn't happen. But it's sadly happening more and more because our city just will not put its criminals in jail. And this is putting everyone in danger: shoppers, store employees, security guards, all because some of our leaders feel bad for criminals who are stealing things and escaping in a Mercedes. And not only is this a chilling sign of just how dangerous everyday activities have become, it's a sign of growing lawlessness and instability throughout our city. No wonder people are scared and on edge when they do basic things now, especially when something as benign as a trip to the grocery store could quickly turn sour due to the dangerous and frightening actions of people who should probably be in jail. And this isn't just about one incident inside one store, it's about a growing trend of violence that's affecting everyone negatively.
By nighttime, customers showed up only to find out the store had closed early due to the chaos. Chaos that Lauren and Nicole know could have been a lot worse, and often is.
And it has for so many people. Yeah. So it's scary to be in a public setting, and we're not walking around with weapons, so you feel helpless.
Made me think about all the
So the shoppers inside the store, they're making it pretty clear that they felt helpless and defenseless in the face of armed crooks who said that they had weapons and were essentially holding the entire store hostage because nobody could escape through the one exit. Apparently, people were crouched down, ducking for cover in the back of the store because the commotion happened near the front. But the thing that's really frightening is how these criminals acted without any regard to the potential consequences of what they were doing. Look at this insane crowd of people. The streets were packed. There were thousands of eyewitnesses, and they were probably caught on security cameras fleeing the scene in their vehicle. Yet not one person is behind bars or has been caught. These guys got away with assault and attempted robbery, which sends the wrong message to our crooks and to our citizenry. It tells people that if crooks want to steal, nothing can stop them and that they are in danger. And it's not like criminals don't talk to each other or watch the news when they hear of something like this happening in a busy, prominent part of town and they hear about how nobody got caught or is in jail. It emboldens them. It makes them think that the next time they decide to go do something stupid and crazy that they'll probably get away with it. And you know something, that's gonna happen again when the people who did this get caught and then get released without bail, which is probably what will happen next since they didn't actually steal anything. But it gets even worse because this no consequences attitude towards retail theft, which has started in progressive cities like New York, is now spreading throughout the rest of the country and is infecting the minds of many people, leading to a wave of criminality that threatens to close down businesses not just here in New York, but throughout the country. So there are a lot of shuttered stores here in this same part of town where that robbery took place. And new studies reveal that shoplifting is becoming a huge problem because now 1 in 5 Americans throughout the country admit to stealing things, with a sizable number of those people admitting to doing it within the last year.
We've all seen the shocking videos, smash and grab robberies, thieves taking hundreds, even thousands in merchandise. But what's more common, according to the experts, is those who take an item or two here and there. Terrence Schulman used to be one of them.
I was a pretty petty shoplifter.
So this is how retail theft starts. People begin stealing things that are relatively small, things that fit in their pockets, things that they might be able to personally justify needing without paying for. That's how it starts, because you can use the same logic to steal a banana that you can to steal stuff from Lululemon. Now, is stealing a banana because you plan on eating it the same as stealing a bunch of high-end clothing items and reselling them online? No. But one leads to the other, because if you can steal something small and get away with it, you could steal something maybe a little bit bigger and get away with it, and so on and so forth, especially in New York, where there really aren't any consequences for theft. Now, all shoplifting is wrong, and you shouldn't steal, but what most people steal first is something they can justify, like food to feed themselves just this one time. But stores in modern America are full of items that people could justify at some level. Deodorant, personal care items, clothing items one couldn't afford unless they stole it. And if a person starts off stealing things that are very small and they get themselves into a habit of stealing whenever they go into any store and they keep it a secret and they don't tell anybody, deep down that habit is going to grow, control their lives, and create a massive problem, the same massive problem that we're now seeing throughout this country.
Shulman started stealing in his teens and only sought help after he was arrested while in law school, once for taking a music cassette and the other for walking out with some champagne under his coat.
And I kept my shoplifting a secret for about a decade. And finally I was ready,
You know why this is so much worse in New York? That bottom that this gentleman says that he hit, that might not happen to somebody until they steal thousands of dollars worth of items. And with shoplifters getting released on their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th offense, it certainly doesn't happen when they take stuff from any of the stores we're seeing down here. Not punishing petty crime lowers the level rather, to which someone's gonna have to sink in order to realize that they're making a big mistake. And we know that's a problem because in New York, studies show that 30% of our thefts are committed by a very small minority of people who are just in the hundreds. These are people who steal things over and over again, yet never face justice and never see a reason to change their behavior. Now, are 300-ish people a majority? Absolutely not. And criminal sympathizers will say, see, this really isn't a big deal because it's not that many people. But this is a growing number of people, and the more people who get into the habit of stealing, the higher that number is gonna get. Don't you see a problem here? We've got a ticking time bomb on our hands and we don't want to defuse it by having a justice and legal system that intervenes in someone's life at the right moment to stop them from ruining society. And at Zara, we saw exactly what this turns into, because people attacking security guards who accuse them of stealing, they didn't learn that behavior by accident. No, they built up to that. That took work to get to that level of criminality where you do something like that, attack someone in the middle of Soho on a busy afternoon. Not to mention, people behaving like that, driving a Mercedes-Benz, are past the point of needing to steal bananas and apples to feed themselves. And not only should it be obvious that this type of behavior would be much less common if jail time for crime were more popular, that's not something we're interested in. After all, we've decriminalized this type of crime, and even though it looks like it's not working, proponents of doing that say, oh, we just need to give it more time so that it has time to work. I mean, it's been 4 years since we did this, and crime is worse now at our stores than it's ever been.
For years, the National Association of Shoplifting Prevention placed the number of shoplifters in America as 1 in 10. But a recent study by Lending Tree put that figure at more than 1 in 5. The items most commonly taken are essentials, not indulgences. Things like food and non-alcoholic drinks.
Wow, this perfectly explains what's going on, because even though most of the people stealing are stealing to do things like feed themselves, they then graduate to stealing things that they don't necessarily need to survive at all. And according to the report we just saw, 40% of what's getting stolen isn't even edible, which means it's got to either be worn or used by the person who stole it, or worse, resold as part of someone's growing retail theft empire. And when you've got people stealing from stores in Soho driving off in a Mercedes, again, they're not doing it to get something to eat. Whatever they're taking is gonna wind up on the internet for sale somewhere. And this jacks up the cost of virtually everything for everyone, not just in pricey boutiques like what you see down here, but also when you go to the grocery store. If you go to the grocery store and you try to buy something which is frequently stolen, the store's gonna have to charge money for it. More money than what you'd normally have to pay, because the store needs to stay open or nobody's gonna have anything to eat. Which means that while crooks are cruising around living the high life with all this extra money they've got from stealing, they're actually stealing from the rest of us when we shop at the grocery store or when we try to buy clothes the right way just so they can have nice things. And that's got critics saying saying that the predictable results of decriminalizing crime aren't that the innocent are no longer in jail. No, it's that the innocent are now victims of that crime.
Schulman cautions taking an item without paying for it occasionally can easily lead to an addiction that can be hard to break without treatment.
And before you know it, you can actually develop a habit. You keep doing something and you rationalize it, it can become a full-blown habit, and that's going to cause a lot of trouble.
Schulman is now the founder.
Now, a long time ago, the thing that would step in and break the cycle of deviant behavior in a person's life was the legal system. That's what it exists for, to stop this from spiraling out of control, which it is. But now we've decided that our legal system should not exist to punish people who take things. Rather, it should exist to help and encourage people to live normal lives just like the rest of us. But the problem is, there's this idea floating around that people are inherently good. Evil's not a real thing. And when you think like that, it makes sense that punishing a criminal would be a bad thing to do because they're a good person. And stealing things over and over again to resell them and make money isn't something that they're doing because they're bad. It's just reality. In a world that sees everyone as a good person who's trying to do good things, even if they have a retail theft empire for some reason. And when someone gets caught stealing and they get arrested here in New York, we say, you know what, this criminal, yeah, maybe they've done it before, but they need another second chance because they're gonna learn something new this time that they didn't learn all of the other times, even if it's the 10th time. What a ridiculous viewpoint. Is that why we've got out of control theft in our stores? Are things like inflation driving people to become criminals in low consequence environments because it's convenient? And if crime were less convenient, would less people do it? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.